What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the latest episode of the Layup Line, and Happy New Year. It's been over a week since a video released on this channel, and that's been because of the holiday break and a cold that I haven't quite beat yet, so I apologize if I sound a little nasally still, but I'm still going to be grinding to get videos out at least twice a week, so if that's something that interests you, consider subscribing to this channel. But with all that out the way, let's talk about some NBA teams that have had a slow start to their season. The first team I want to talk about is the Toronto Raptors. As of the recording of this video, the Raptors are 14th in the conference with a 1-5 record. The Raptors have one of the poorest offenses to start the season with an offensive rating of 102.4, and that will put them as second worst offense in the whole league. The defense has been good as usual. The Raptors, they have 106.5, which is ranked 9th for defensive rating. Toronto's lone win came in a game against the Knicks with their starter Pascal Siakam on the bench, with the team issued suspension for leaving the bench early in the prior game where Siakam fouled out. And like I've said, the problem is the offense. The Raptors haven't been very efficient. They're currently last in field goal percentage, and they're the bottom 5 team in 3-point percentage. A lot of their key guys are underperforming, and Chris Boucher is the only Raptor averaging more than 5 field goal attempts with an efficiency that's over 45%. Pascal and Kyle Lowry, who are second and third in field goal attempts, are barely hitting above 40% from the field. Norman Powell and OG Anunoby, who are also top 5 in field goal attempts for them, are also throwing up a lot of bricks. When diagnosing the Raptors' offensive problem, it's somewhat predictable. They have a roster of veteran NBA talent, but none of their guys are really dynamic offensive talents that bend opposing defenses with their gravity and on-ball creation skills. Van Vliet does deserve a mention here because he's putting up 22 points on 39% from 3 on 10 attempts, but as a small guard, Fred is still the kind of player defenses will prefer to play in a single coverage, limiting how much he really bends your defense. I want to leave on an optimistic observation for the Raptors, because if you look at the points total by quarter over their losses, they have had some high scoring quarters, which is proof that the Raptors coaches might be able to find some lineup combinations that improve the team's offensive rating. The Raptors players also will need to do a better job at finishing at the rim, and some better luck on jumpers will be the window to making improvements in the wins and loss department for them. The next bad start team that I want to talk about is the Washington Wizards. Now, the Wizards are the opposite of the Raptors in a lot of ways, where their offense has been generally fine, ranking 11th with their 111.7 offensive rating, but their 25th ranked defense is just not going to cut it. That being said, the offense still isn't perfect. Westbrook is having an awful shooting year even by his standards, and Russ is knocking down less than 40% of all field goal attempts and only 23% of his 4 3-point field goal attempts per game. Bradley Beal and Davis Bertans are also struggling from 3. Beal is shooting less than 30% on 5 3-point field goals a game, and Bertans is under 33%. Some of their non-shooters are outperforming expectations, but even if everyone starts to regress to their averages, offensively, there is enough room to keep Washington competitive offensively. Again, the problem is that they can't stop anyone. Part of the issue has been that Rui Hachimura has only played 3 games, where the Wizards are now 2-1 in those games. The Wizards have really needed another wing player at Rui's size, because before his return, there were a lot of 3-guard lineups with Westbrook, Beal, and Raul Neto or Ish Smith. And aside from the bad perimeter defense, the Wizards have had no one at the rim they can rely on as a rim protector. Thomas Bryant has looked a step slow defensively and is often out of place. The Wizards have tried to play their big men in drop coverages defensively, which isn't working, and I think that's because of the personnel here. Robin Lopez and Thomas Bryant are not rim protectors, and they don't scare anyone in a drop coverage. They also aren't doing a good enough job getting out to shooters, and as of the recording of this video, Washington is allowing their opponents a top 10 field goal percentage from the field and from 3. Another issue I've heard a lot from Wizards fans is that the coaching has been an issue here. Head coach Scott Brooks hasn't hit the right buttons as far as lineup combinations in his defense. The team isn't deep or loaded with talent, but poor game late execution and timeout management, also keeping players on the bench while they're hot. These are all mistakes on the coaching side that have contributed to the bad start. And I actually also have a video predicting a few coaches that I thought would be losing their jobs this season, and Scott Brooks is one of them. If you haven't seen that video, I definitely recommend going to check it out. I want to leave the Wizards on an optimistic note, and the fact is that they have some key guys shooting below average, and that provides some hope that they can return to their usual numbers, especially Bertans, who's supposed to be a long-range sniper for the team, and he's failed to provide significant spacing early on. And if Washington can also cut down on their turnovers and look into trades and signings that would land them additional depth at the forwards and center position, you at least put yourself in a better position to win some games in the short term. Now, the last slow start team that I want to talk about are the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have gone out to a 2-4 start after having been in a Western Conference finalist, so right now they're below expectations. The offense has been predictably good, ranking 7th at a 116 offensive rating, but they're another team whose defensive limitations are holding them back right now. They have a defensive rating of 116, which is ranked 29th. That's a pretty significant step down for the Nuggets. Their offense is around the range of their 5th ranked offense from last year, but they have dropped from 16th to 29th on defense. Many people predicted this drop, and it's something that I'm sure that the front office saw coming as well after an offseason that saw them losing 3 of their best defenders in Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee, and Torrey Craig. They managed to retain Paul Millsap, and they brought in JaMychal Green as a 3-and-D option at the 5, but it's clearly not working since they're allowing their opponents to shoot the 3rd highest field goal percentage and the 5th highest percentage from 3. Michael Porter, who's averaging nearly 20 points per game, has missed a few games, and Jamal Murray, who's put up 24 points on nearly 50-40 shooting splits, has missed about a game and a half, but these aren't guys who should be depending on for defense, so reinserting them to lineups shouldn't lead to much of a jump, if any, for the Nuggets in that department. In fact, Michael Porter Jr. has been a defensive liability, so watch for him to get attacked on that side, and we'll see how the Nuggets scheme for this defensively. In my opinion, it's much harder to find an optimistic note to end on for the Nuggets. I think a lot of the ways that they have struggled would be expected for the personnel that they have, and they also already have a top 10 offense, so Gary Harris and Will Barton shooting better wouldn't even really help in the area that they needed the most. The Nuggets are also a team that was often making late game offensive defensive rotations because their best offensive players are typically poor defenders and their best defenders were mostly poor offensive players. This year, the defensive personnel that switches into games is no longer good enough to keep them around average. So I think this is a team that will need to make a trade or a signing. I think the offense is good enough to turn things around to the point that they can keep them on track for the playoffs, but the defensive issues will make sure that playoff run is short if it even comes at all. But that's all for today's video. If you learned something new or if you like what I do, leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you think of these teams. Also, let me know if there are any teams that are off to really good starts that you want to hear more about. And follow me on most social media platforms for inside looks at upcoming videos and reactions to live games. Subscribe to stay notified about new videos, and thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.